Oi mi kakak jadi kakak mungkin ne manyur ni bang ngom ini pe ngom par Rwot Achana ngom ini Rwot pakai para curi ngomong di pokoknya kita ngomong ngalo buat deh.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. We prepared a brief press statement, which I will read, and it will form the basis of our interaction with you this afternoon. Press statement entitled Change in Leadership and Restructuring of KKA Achana. Number one, in a meeting of the Council of Rwot Achana held on 20th June 2023, Rwot David Achana II was removed as the Rwot Achana, together with his deputy, Rwot Otinga Atuka Otoyai II. Number two, both Rwot Achana and his deputy, Rwot Otinga, have been in their respective positions year 2000. Number three, reacting to scandalous conduct of Rwot David Achana, to a plethora of issues related to integrity, failure to discharge his fiduciary responsibilities, and mismanagement of affairs at KKA Achana, this unprecedented and drastic action was taken in the best interests of KKA Achana and Achana community as a whole. Number four, the election of the leadership of KKA Achana is entirely within the mandate of Rwot Achana and is exercised very judiciously. Who or what is KKA Achana? KKA Achana is the umbrella body established in the late 1990s to bring all the Achana traditional entities together, chiefdoms that is. This council of Rwot, known as KKA Achana, is headed by Rwot. He is known and recognized as the custodian of Achana culture among national and international stakeholders. Achana Traditional and Cultural Authority and the attendant chiefdom social order, which has been in existence from around the 16th century, has always been the foundation of governance of Achana society. This fact in our times today has been recognized by the 1995 Constitution under Article 246, and this very article confers formal legitimacy to the institution. Where is customary authority derived from? Customary authority, normally in any social space, is very much shaped by everyday practices and events. And these practices include provision of public services and public goods. Coming to KKA Achana in particular, this legitimacy and public authority in recent times is derived from tradition and culture, and the access by Rwot to their communities, and the identity of Rwot to the grassroots. That's the authority from which the Rwot derived their mandate. In the recent historical context of our society, Acholi society, these public goods were informed by the dynamics of the events of the day, which was the LRA war, Lord's Resistance Army War, Civil War, that shook this country and its aftermath. The cultural leaders stepped forward in the aftermath of the war, and the public goods and services they provided included, and still includes even today, transitional justice, protection, of the environment, reintegrating, as it was at the time, those who were returning back home from war, and peace negotiations which led to the end of the war. And today they're engaged quite a lot in mediating land conflicts. However, in true tradition, the role of Rwot has been evolving, and today embraces development brokerage, and Rwot are very much considered as development agents. But at the time of its inception, these were the very explicit aims of the organization, of the institution rather. A, maintaining the tradition and the culture which enhances the dignity and the well-being of Acholi people. B, handling conflicts and disputes within the Acholi community and engaging in reconciliation as and when the need arises with other neighboring communities to foster harmony in accordance with the customs, norms, traditions prevailing which do not contravene the Constitution. C, promoting development and enrichment in the character of all Acholi community, in particular, and by implication, Uganda at large. Sadly, the leadership we are talking about, who are given this mandate, have not fulfilled these functions for which they were elected to office. Their term of office has been mired in a number of misdeeds, which includes some of the following. And I have here for your benefit, highlighted 13 of them. This is by no means the entire catalog of what we consider misdeeds, which are both classified as commissions and omissions. Number one, failure by the leadership to produce a governance documents for KKA, that is, failure to produce a constitution, despite several resolutions passed by the Council of Chiefs. The absence of a constitution made it easy for Rwot not to be accountable to the institution itself, not accountable to Rwot, and not accountable to Acholi community as required today by best management practices. The converse of this, lack of the constitution, that's a governance document, has led to nepotism and decisions, management decisions being made arbitrarily. So number one is about lack of the constitution for KKA. We don't have one. The institution has itself been responsible, number two that is, has been responsible for misappropriation of money provided in the form of grants, aids, and donations. The most significant of which was the Democratic Facility Fund provided around about the year 2013 and 2014. These were funds meant to carry out activities related to return from the IDP camps. This was the subject of a forensic audit. The outcome of which led to the withdrawal of all development assistance from key stakeholders. To this day. Number three, in October last year, His Excellency, the Head of State, put forward 200 million shillings for activities to set up peace committees and continuation dialogues at the grassroots levels in the troubled Upper region, which is the home of Made and actually people. We all know the history of Upper it remains a troubled area of our community to this day. Two things to say about this. The fact of the provision of these funds for really a vital activity was not disclosed to these chiefs here, who were meant to be the ones spearheading this activity. Not only was this not disclosed, but there are no records that these activities were actually carried out so far. But we live in hope. One day, probably in the near future, this will be carried out. However, the people of Apa deserve more than this. They live with daily insecurity. And they badly need intervention for peace. Number 4, our Rwot has been misrepresenting his position as quotes king of Acholi. This position doesn't exist in the hierarchy of KKA Acholi. There is no history or culture of quotes king in our setup. What does this mean? This misrepresentation. It demeans and assigns a lesser status to other Rwot. For the sake of giving an insight into the state of Rwot Achana, we are independent and autonomous, and we are all of equal status. What we have done by the arrangement of KKA Achana is to elect a chairperson, a coordinating responsibility, and a spokesperson. Full stop. This is not a position where the holder of the office exercises executive function. But the impression given out there is that this is a boss. Not at all. "20 years ago, at the time of returning from the IDPs, as part of the reconstruction and development of northern Uganda from the ruins and the impact of the LRA war, Rwot Achana were encouraged to lead their communities out of the IDP camps. And one of the tools used was that they should return. And a provision was made to build houses for chiefs so that the communities would follow them to where they came from originally. This program of building chiefs' houses fell under PRDP. It was a very welcome project. However, this process was grossly mismanaged in several ways. One, the design of the houses as originally conceived were changed. And what was provided was of lesser value and extremely poor workmanship. Today, if you visit these houses, they are in dilapidated states. Many of them pose serious health hazards just 10 years down the line. And quite a number of chiefs have abandoned these houses and prefer the attached roof structures. Number 8, there's been considerable breach of protocol and this goes to what I mentioned earlier. You, as a chief, we normally welcome chiefs in our areas, other chiefs, for various reasons. But you do it with their knowledge, particularly if you are not on a private visit, but on some issues related to affairs of the chieftain. This protocol has been violated blatantly and with impunity by Levi Rodi. Number 9, we all value that little that is now left of our customary land. And we are doing everything possible to manage this resource for the benefit of the past, the present, and for posterity. This is the song almost every weekend on radio talk shows. Don't sell customary land. However, the leadership of KKA has been caught, as it were, engaged in grabbing and selling community land for private gain. We now come to what triggered and put us where we are today. This piece of land, known as plot 5 and 5A Airfield Road, just a bare 200 meters from here, This was a donation to KKA about a decade ago to form the asset base for the institution to be developed to generate income and provide working space for KKA's activities. This is what triggered the crisis we are in today. There was a brazen attempt by the person of Rwot to sell this land, which he has been pronouncing as his personal property. Whereas it is not. And when news of this reached Rwot, a series of actions which he has just explained took place, culminating into where we are. Lastly, we are not sure, as our representative and spokesperson, that our Rwot advocates for entitlements and benefits which are due to Rwot from various stakeholders. We are regarded as development partners. We work very closely at the grassroots level, particularly with area local governments. And we know that in carrying out these tasks together with these stakeholders, there are some provisions for Rwot. We don't know if these matters of the provisions have been advocated for. Now, therefore, I read, whereas the office of Rwot Achana was created to promote and preserve Acholi heritage by providing good leadership to KKA Acholi, whereas the position of Rwot is an elected position from among legitimate Rwot Acholi, whereas the person of Rwot Achana II has failed to discharge his fiduciary duties with integrity in serving the interests of Rwot Acholi, KKA Acholi institution, and Acholi in general. Therefore, Rwot Acholi resolved in a meeting of the Council of Rwot on the 20th of June 2023 as follows. 1. The entire leadership and management of KKA Acholi under Rwot Achana II and his deputy, Rwot Otinga II, cease to hold offices or cease to carry out duties of their respective offices as Rwot and Deputy Rwot with immediate effect. 2. Rwot David Rwot Achana should give an account and an inventory of assets of KKA that are accrued to this body. It should give this account within the period of 14 days. We have also resolved and put in place an interim leadership to be chaired by Rwot Richard Santo Apere of Attack, to run the affairs of KKA together at the Prime Minister's office. In the interim period, what they'll be doing is restructuring, developing, and presenting for approval a constitution for the first time for KKA. Rwot Santo Apere will be deputized in this by Rwot Otinga, Dr. Bongo Amida. He will also be assisted by Rwot Colin, together with myself, Rwot Lugai, Rwot Ojok Agenya, in what we have constituted as an interim committee. This interim committee has 3 months to reorganize and restructure the organization, that is KKA. In the event this work is not complete and the time is not sufficient, the period for them to undertake this task will be extended by a further 3 months. This is our press statement. And now I return it back to the chair. Thank you.
I'll continue in English a little bit. Thank you very much, the press corps, for listening to our press statement. It will now take me 5 questions to answer them. Yes, Mr. Benson.
Thank you, Chief Collins. You may answer in English if you may. The question is, what happens if the Paramount Chief fails to leave? And I'm also asking you whether you have read this press release that he did tease out this accident. He has called for a meeting on Saturday. Are you aware of that meeting? As a faction, and will you attend that meeting?
I have read that press statement. We have not consulted ourselves as a committee on that. We'll come up with an answer at the appropriate time after reviewing the press statement. But I want to point out that we had on several occasions requested him to call for a meeting, Council of Chiefs meeting, and he failed. So It's ironic that now he calls for a meeting. There were other derogatory languages that were used in the last few days, but that is not something that we want to engage in. If he refuses to vacate, we'll review our position from that time. We have 14 days that we have given, that the resolution gives, and that time we'll review our position and decide on the appropriate course of action. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Jesse Johnson James. I work with Radio Lupin. The first question is, you've rightly put it that there is no governing document.
Yes.
And a resolution has already been made
Yes.
by a section of chiefs in Acholi. Where do we derive the authenticity of the voice that you've collectively come up with? That's one. Two, how many chiefs are in affirmative of these resolutions to have the current paramount chief out of office? Out of how many in total? Then the last one, where do we see all this, I could call it saga, or all this issue ending? Will we see something similar to the leadership, cultural leadership in Laos and region, in case things don't go as planned? Thank you.
I'll start with the last part of the question. We cannot comment on Lao issues because that's out of our area of concern. But the attendance of the chiefs that were there was sufficient quorum that could make the decision that we arrived at. The other part of the question, please, could you repeat that? There was one more.
About the constitution,
Yes.
you said there is no governing.
There is no governing document at all.
But
Okay,
a section of chiefs are faulting the current paramount chief. Where do you derive the complaint from? Is it in contravention of any kind of maybe a customary practice or a norm, something like that?
Well, as you have read in our press statement, the Council of Chiefs are the ones that first of all elected Lawirudi. The chiefs have mandates from their chiefdoms. They were traditionally installed appropriately and carry the mandates of the communities that they represent, and that's why they are part of the KKA consortium. Therefore, to question whether we have the mandate, it is a little bit late or is kind of irrelevant because we have been there for generations and generations. It was disrupted during 1966 up to 1995.
Can I add something here? An institution of that significance in terms of best management practices must have guidelines on how it runs its affairs. To stop abuse, to stop arbitrary decisions being made, to stop being accountable to its stakeholders. This is what has led to the catalog of things we have talked about. Today, it's good management practice to have, at the minimum, set out procedures how decisions are made. Assembled comprehensively, this becomes a governance document, which we don't have. And we have a duty of care to our stakeholders who support the activities of KKA. And this should be viewed through that structure of the governing documents, holding us accountable, basically.
To add on to that, Pressman, I think it will also be of importance to make you know that on several occasions in meetings, the Council of Chiefs have resolved that the Constitution be made. Attempts were made in 2004. In 2016, we again insisted that we needed a constitution to make the running of the institution easy. But this has not happened. And to me, I think that has been a deliberate move to manipulate and exploit the cultural institution. So we have been demanding for the constitution. We have been putting resolutions and putting the paramount chief to task to ensure that the institution gets a governing document. To date, we have not seen. Thank you.
My name is Livingston Langol. I write for Black Stars and the Yang online publication. My Lord Chief Rwot, he talks about the corruption which endured in the KKA for long. And you mentioned that one of the triggers has been about this land, plot 5 and 6. Now, as the man, as the chief, Rwot Achana got the money, and if that's got the money, how are you going to make sure that you have to take that money back?
Thank you. That land, as I've said before, belongs to KKA actually, and these are the legal documents or the documents that were the president gave and communications between different branches of the government to move the land from being supervised and managed by Uganda Lands Commission to KKA actually, the actually cultural institution. And I'll give this to you so that you can go through and you can copy them and you can verify for yourself that we are not taking or we are bringing issues which are not valid. The sale of the land, we have written to him to stop it. We have written to the managing director of National Social Security Fund, NSSF, to not continue with the transaction because it is in violations. And additionally, there are other provisions that have been put to stop this possible sale. So I'll just leave it at that stage. Thank you.
Nyapi Wilfred, okay, below Gilabachili, for you to try to read, Yelu Matak to try more teaching, you are young to try. You can lock my Berka Katiana bought one win your bear. I think a penny chair, nay, Kaina mod for the Chawan Kin Quay Coral, he locked my pole, Maukiri, KKA Churi, Machala Yuri, Nana Chana. Mario. The penya don't chera komani. Pawa ngayo kita gwa karo keno KKA churi tiu kwere. Ma kainen gwa pera mo biberu tie. Chi consultation mo ron biberu tie. Bot community machala churi community. No machala wan kara churi. Before mokotam machako tiu tiu mo me kwanyo ngata eone ki kom. Pitian lok mo wera kiru la penya ni. Eni kai winyo lok ma la dit waji ni constitution ma no foutier machale a proper document of foot pega donc pe wangeyo ketano nene chana ke kwara churi tiu kwere ka ngato mo gwa ko pore bal donc eni ka nen pe do ko wa chen nyob kero ka penni ko eni ni weng ma won ti kelo gini pigi kan gi makoberi chani side ma megi guora ngeni gi tiki lok ma pol ma kweni kwa kar kene ga kikupe kwen gi begam won pigu kanu beno tiki lok ma koberi tika yana bot wakan dong wabe nyang ni ning machalo wan kaka chudi nyo duo community ni jeme eni weng ma wono kerbi tia da kido ngo mo wego ter irudwe gi kare kon koko marama paki wie meker ne kama leng wan machala duo community wa bet ki ngeye matut before won moko tam me chako kwanyu ngati oni ki kom nyu moko to me tiu gen mano rwate fo
yo wa ken juang li pe ngatu kan tap lo
okay me gamo en ni ki jomo ken me do gorga
Gen gitu kan ngore kien gini penye di merah gam.
Okay, that question by you is on all. What are medically la pen and ya non job no court at you but NBS TV. Particular pen Maria. Most of the cultural affairs is run by the Prime Minister, but in your pressure, we did not hear him. Ladip Ambrosola names surfacing. Kakamo, does it mean that we really know the Katimao or the Achara in the Kane or the Prime Minister of the Bengueti? Kidoma Rio. When you form the new committees and the leadership for the 3 months, as they continue to exercise their duty, where will they be sitting since out to the
Iroman the penye.
I want to know job run a court. Rwot NBS TV. Most of the cultural affairs is run by the Prime Minister. But in your press at all, we knew that we are meaning that it Ambrosola. Does it mean that we wrote about a transaction in Kenya? We don't marry. We have formed the committee and the new leaderships. Mommy, it has to do within the 3 months. But we are wondering when I'm going to be here, exercising all those duties, since Kamana you will be here to handle cultural affairs has been blocked.
Yeah, avoid it well. Gina a meeting and any one waberu ki mok wala wo. Wami ukare me chabira rio. Ne umero en unonkaro aho ke kal kamaruri gore ye metiuti ki bien tiche do tumo ki kenyo mawana e wajo kare me chabira rioni putpo tum putin ni ma che ka kare ni enu ni bitum che en pe waro mok palwa ma ene ruri ma ukero en yam kono ni wano bi beru ping meneno yo ma upore mawadokere lok makir meno so kawa o kono chiwa tiwi komlo for pen mukene ma ipenyo madore kom bedu tie pa prime minister I office pa ke kwaro kidong bedu tie pa prime minister I loke eni kachegwak tie amira dore ye kitmani dano machalo prime minister tie da teach la teach enini ngat major ene dok teach ene ye la wirore ene chime yo ene mogo tam chao kene ene nyota ni kitiket man ka kama wan wa o ye ni putpe wa no lokumo manyoro ni en chienti ye ento petian lokeni wa wai ni bwak pe en no timu gino mo ka chieng mo I wot wa eni bien wa mogo ni ki kwet ko jami mogo ka chieng mo wa bino ni chienti gin makit meno committee wani bi bedo ping chi mogo un bedo no lo ni en bene lo no ma ana fo yes